Hello everyone, my name is Fani. I'm here representing Theatrum Mundi, the new edition in the Future Architecture platform, officially starting from 2021. So we're not officially members or having an activity for this year at least, not officially. I will not give a presentation through slides, but rather explain a little bit of what we do and who we are through our website. Let's do that. So Theatrum Mundi is a research organization and a creative practice based in London and Paris. We are a charity, a charitable organization founded by Richard Sennett, a sociologist. It started as a project, part of LSE Cities, back in 2012, by Richard. Then, 5 years later, it became an independent charity. We are at the moment 8 people. All of us are, apart from John, which is the director, all the rest of the people are part-time, which means that we are doing other stuff parallel to our work at the organization. We are researching in universities, we are teaching, we are art curators, editors of journals, we are DJs and poets and all kinds of sorts of things. So you understand already the mentality behind of how we work. And we have a board of trustees, still have the intellectual, let's say, guidance by Richard, but we have a long list of trustees, board of trustees that we work with, as well as advisors, as well as more recently we opened an association in France, so that, of course, in view of the Brexit, you understand that we want to really keep this European collaboration and really strengthen our network. You understand that the way we operate actually is that we are bringing architects, urbanists and artists, people, let's say, mainly from the performing and visual arts together, to talk about how we make cities, how we think about cities, how we plan cities design, but also how we reflect on these things. We are organizing seminars, workshops, charrettes, performances. We are just inviting people to contribute in other exploring different ways of doing that. And we also have a program of research fellowships, which, as you can see, they are these 4 people at the moment here. Let's go to the. So we as I said, it is like a list of things we're doing. This is you can feel free to visit our website to see more. We are thinking of Theatrum Mundi. The word itself understands the world as a theater, as a stage, and this is what also we are understanding our role, like providing the stage for things to happen between different people, from architecture, from urbanism, and from arts, and we are really encouraging this interdisciplinarity and learning from. And the way we're doing that, we are working with thematics, we are working with the idea of scenography, choreography, music, sound, voice, musical scores, and how we can use the thinking in this kind of disciplines, if you like, and in city making. You can see some of the projects we are currently having at the moment. The political voice, urban backstages, and making culture infrastructure, which it was a topic that we talked yesterday, architecture as culture production, and the backstage. We have enactments, scoring, talking about musical scores and how we use that as a metaphor for architectural blueprint. Thevoir, which is, again, it is also for the voice, but also for the vote, and has different connotations. And again, is how we can use the voice that we have to be politically engaged, or to, let's say, project different, basically the different opinions that we have, but also bring and engage different actors on the design and planning. So I'm going to talk about some of the project in a little bit more detail further on, showing some examples. We have the choreographing the city, and sonic urbanism, which, by the way, I brought some books, and Beyond also brought some others. We collaborated with and Beyond on this one, which was the result of a colloquium, the first colloquium on crafting sonic urbanism and designing politics. Again, I brought some publication from this one for you to have a look. So the main thing, how we operate by building slowly things. So we are starting with small events, which then they work as an infrastructure for further events, and then those is the knowledge base. We kind of formulate the knowledge base that we can build on top for other events, and then leads to publications or expand further these notions and the ideas that we are working on, and use these as provocations for other events. So to give you an understanding of that, let's say that so next year, what we propose as an activity is an movement forum, which is going to be 3 lab sessions in London, Paris, and Lisbon. We are working with Lisbon Architecture Triennale with that, and it's about how choreographic thinking can be embedded in the process of designing and planning. And that is not something that we just started, yes, let's go for it, from zero. It is something that it's a process. We started with a research project at UCL with Ellie Cosgrove, and really talking how choreographic thinking can be embedded in engineering. This further led to having a research fellow at the moment, Adesola, which will start recently an MIT residency on, again, how we can think as a dancer. And also she was doing workshop with Arup and engineers, talking about how we literally think of the body and the bodily movement when we are designing about cities and infrastructure in cities. And that will further, we're doing a series of choreo labs. We're inviting people to really understanding the movement. We're doing workshop with lab and movement analysis and so on. And that will further kind of build up to do this series of sessions, lab sessions that we're thinking next year. So to give you an understanding of how really we're building slowly the knowledge about these things we're talking about, and we are actually exploring ourselves. The 2 things I will most likely focus, or to give you an understanding about the voices. I told you before that we have the voix, but obviously then we expand in the sonic urbanism, but we expanded more recently to have a second colloquium of sonic urbanism on the political voice, which we had in Paris in December. But then that again led to another project that we were doing in Athens with the NAS Foundation, again about the political voice, specifically about talking about refugees and immigrants and the voice of underrepresented or maybe more vulnerable population groups in how, and in view of the rise of Golden Dawn and all this kind of political, scene that there is currently in Greece. And we have research residencies and creative residencies and what we like to call public assemblies that are very fitting with political voice. Anyway, so going back to 2 projects, one main, because we do research as well ourselves, and one of the main research projects that we have at the moment is making culture infrastructure, and we call it Urban Backstage. We are working with KTH and Axe Johnson Foundation in Stockholm, and Urban Backstage is basically looks at what Anna Dana said about the precarious creative, I don't even want to call it creative class, but what I also said yesterday about unincorporated culture actors, the very small scale producers of cultures in cities. And it is a comparative study between London, Paris, Marseille, and Glasgow. We are operating way beyond London and Paris. We are really trying to do work in Athens, Beirut, Belfast. We did a workshop in Buenos Aires. Like, we're really, really trying to expand the notion of borders and really collaborating. So this is what we're trying to do with all of our projects. Urban Backstage is therefore is mainly asking what are the infrastructural conditions and whether we can provide infrastructural conditions to support the production of cultures in cities. As I said, you can go see the different projects, and then you can see all related past actions and past program with that specific project. So this is how, again, we kind of build the infrastructure for different things. And I'm going to show you a film we did, not all of it, just a little bit part of it, with our pilot project in London, where we looked at Elephant and Castle, where it's the vibrant Latin American community, but also they are trying to establish a creative hub, and you will see some of the, it's a random minute that I started, please, I mean, it's obviously, you go ahead and look at it all.
The great thing about these types of workspaces for us is that it allows for a really soft kind of expansion. I run a small practice that specialises in working with historic buildings, but usually for contemporary-minded clients. A lot of our work is in central London. Quick access to that is really important. The strange thing about sharing the workspace is that a sense of community isn't really automatic. If we want to create professional or social relationships, it's something which we do need to contrive ourselves.
It's a very vibrant, dynamic place. There's a lot of change happening. There's a lot of small businesses, lots of art students. So the cafe area is a real kind of sort of hub. There are a lot of opportunities that come out of being here. And people have shows, there's sometimes gigs on. Interested in public conscience, literature, film, and kind of interpreting narratives from those ideas, which is what I kind of work with.
We found it very difficult to find this industrial unit because, as you know, London is always developing, flats and shops are being put up everywhere, but we found that industrial areas were sort of being taken away. We supply audiovisual equipment for events, AGMs, conferences and exhibitions. The location is very important because most of the companies we work with are based in central London and require support daily and sometimes quite urgently, so we need to be local to them.
There are very few fine artists left in yards, I think, but there are still a number of us. I think the best thing about the space is that it's devoted to drawing, so I can just leave things as they are when I go home. I think it's a great place to be in the middle of London. It's a quiet corner, as well as a busy creative hub full of people who are like-minded. Twice a year we have open studio event, which does bring people together. And that's really wonderful because that's an important part of the community.
Short expert, you can see a very diverse range of people and activities of what we can call the backstage and what's really happening on the backstage of cultural production in cities. The other project we did, I talked briefly about it, was the Thevoir, which basically it is, we are working with that with an opera company in Paris, where we're actually running participatory workshops with the local communities, and we're trying to engage them in name calling, in really projecting and using their voice and their names on site, but also on the site of Chapelle-Sarbon, which is, as you can see, a disused Parisian railway depot that recently was bought by the municipality, by the Ville de Paris, and was going to be redeveloped as the last public park in Paris within the périphérique. So it's a huge site that no one knew before because it was really enclosed and nobody had access to it because it belonged to SNCF. And now we are trying to really create memories of the local community with that space while it is in transition and while it is in development by using the voice, the human voice. And this is a series of workshops we are working, which again have culminated in different performances. And this one I'm going to show you now from the film is from Nuit Blanche that happened September, like this year, 2019, October, I don't remember. And again, this is part of, we use dancers as well as the opera company and then names, so everybody had to name their names. The people, it is on the edge of the city in the north, so it is an area that has also a migrant camp. We invited even people from the camp to actually, you know, very hesitantly, whatever, but they were actually coming and, you know, they were shouting even their names from the camp and so on. I'm gonna just show you a little bit of how, and we are working also with the tactic, which is the architectural practice that trying to, meanwhile, is being redeveloped to activate the space through, you can see they have redesigned a small strip of the land. Again, it's a random point.
Blanc de textile, du grec signifiant messagère. Merde. Du néerlandais de l'arabe ad qui signifie terre et jardin. Fatim, Fatoumata, par vertu de l'égyptien ancien signifiant aimer.
These are the envelopes with all the names.
Tia.
Again, just to give you a brief idea of some of the things we're doing, I just want to conclude by saying thank you very much, Future Architecture Platform, also for selecting us. We're really, really happy to be here. Personally, I'm very happy because 3 years ago I was a participant, a selected idea, and 3 years after, here I am. So thank you very much.